If it is, and we've got internet, you might keep it.
This time our public hearing is closed and we'll now open up our council meeting for January 6, 2022. We have prayer by Councilman Tre'Von, pledge by Councilman Kelly. Please stand.
Eternal God, our Father, it's again, God, we come this first meeting of the new year, God. First of all, we want to say thank you. God, thank you for the many blessings that you have restored upon us, God. Even though it's been a trying past year, oh God, with COVID going on, and God, that you're still good, and you're still God all by yourself, and you make no mistakes. We thank you for the leadership of this town, the council members, Mayor. God, we just pray your blessings upon each and every one of our lives, oh God. God, we just thank you now, God, because we cast every care upon you because you care for your people. God, we ask you to bless this meeting tonight, God. Let everything be done decent and in order, God, that you would get the glory, oh God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Cookman,
Here.
Cooper,
Here.
Diamond, Callahan,
Here.
Winters. Public is invited to have public input on agenda items. 2 minutes per agenda item must be recognized by the chair before speaking. Number 1, approve minutes of last month's meeting.
So move.
So moved by Councilman Hookman, second by Councilman Callahan to approve minutes of last month's meeting. Any questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Financial reports submitted to council via email.
Question. What's the question?
Yes.
Okay, it says on our financial reports for review, and there's some connotations, like for under grants, energy beautification grant. There's also another connotation next to total taxes for some reason. And I believe there was also one next to salaries firemen. What were the reasons for these connotations and why they listed as for review, as seen on the top portion of page 1?
What you're looking at, that comes up under something else. We're talking about financial reports for last month. This is just a portion of the budget that we pulled out, so that when we have some questions about the parks and recreation, we can refer to.
Okay. Salaries firemen would be included in that parks and recreation?
They just printed the whole page.
There's a connotation by it though.
I didn't make the connotations, but once again, that is strictly for us to look at when we talk about the budget for the parks and recreation.
Okay, I'll save my question for that.
Okay.
Number 3, Ms. Antoinette Herrera to discuss properties in town that needs to be addressed for cleanup.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Steven?
I want to bring before your attention some of the properties that's been really neglected. Let me just see. Okay, if I can't get it there, I don't know what's going on with it. But anyway, there's some properties on 700 Avenue I, and those properties are really, really in bad condition. There's a lot of trash in the yards. If you go down 11th Street, there's also a lot of yards that's abandoned. And I know that the hurricane did some damages, but it's still there. I wrote Mr. Lee Wheeler a letter about the house next to me on Avenue I, and it's just there. I don't want to, I just want to say, taxes went up, but our properties are depreciating because some people are not taking care of their property. Now, I do know that you have it on the laws that you can enforce it where people clean up their yard. This is in the town limits. This is city limits. This is not outside the city limits where trash is everywhere. But it's beginning to look really uninviting, very ugly. I know I take care of my property. I want to be a good neighbor to everybody. And I wish that the neighbors would do the same. 15 years ago when I moved here, it was very clean. That's why I moved here. I didn't move into a dump. I didn't move into an area where people just neglect their property. But it is totally out of hand now. There's mattresses outside, there's sofas in people's yards. It's been sitting there long before Hurricane Ida. If you go from 11 down to J, it looked like a war zone. Now, we're not a third world country. You have the power as the city council to address this. This is a reflection of all of us this time. At one time, I heard everybody say this was God's country. Now I'm wondering, is it really God's country? Because if we're going to be good stewards, we have to be a good steward over our properties and the town. So there's a couple of things I really would want to talk about as a solution. I can put it up here. Give me 1 minute. Finally got it. I just want to give you a bird's eye view, but I know most of you have seen it yourself. Just riding around. All right, this is what I live next to every day. Now, I did write Mr. Lee. It's been a couple of months now. If we don't say anything, it'll be there this summer. Another hurricane will come and go. This is the car that was on 11 and I, and he was renting that property. He moved the car and put it across the street where Buddy Morris owned that property. Not just that, some of those wires that Comcast cut down, they are still laying on the ground. And some of those wires are so low that they just left it like that. Now, if this was an elite community, they would leave it like that. Something would be done. This is where the guy on 11 used to own a horse, but there's no horse now. That's what it looks like right now. This is the back of that house on 11th Street. Now, I understand that maybe the trees is one thing, but the owners can pick up the trash. This is also on I, where it's just a mechanic shop. It's not a business there. That's a residential area. This is behind Texaco. If you go up that hill, there's sofas that's just lying there. That's another house right off 38, the main highway. This is the wires that's laying all over the city, all over this town. And they left it just like that. This is the abandoned trailer on 11th Street. 11th Street. Now, when I researched it, I saw that you do have an ordinance that you can write the letters or give them a warning, or maybe just say, hey, look, there's a fine that's coming, but something needs to be done. Now, what's the plan of action? This is what I just thought about. Letters should go out to the homeowners concerning the trash and the debris, giving them 30 days to clean up the property. If the property is not cleaned in 30 days, a fine should be imposed on the owner. If the town has to clean it up, a lien should be put against the property owners for cleaning and maintaining their property. Fourthly, I'm asking that you launch a task force that will help to identify the abandoned houses and the hot spots in the town. Identify fundings coming from litters, people throwing the trash on the ground, just how much are we collecting with people throwing trash out. Enforce the community services for littering and unkept yards. And I think the task force should be comprised of concerned citizens and elected officials, because I realize everybody know everybody. And sometimes when you have someone from the outside that do not know everybody in the town, well, that person is going to see a different view. But we got to do something, because it's looking really horrible here. So I would just like to suggest that y'all please consider a task force to identify the hot spots, and let's get this town cleaned up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Real, and we will take all of
Man, I'd
these.
like to say, she was talking about that old wire down that long, the cable TV, and whose place is to pick that up? They're not in business here, it's the town's place, it's on town land, for the most part.
On town
Pull
right.
down, the Harlem trees pulled that down, and then the power people, they did their thing, and the telephone, but there wasn't anybody to touch that old cable. It's all over 11th Street, like you said, from end to end, 11th Street, all that old wire is on the ground, that old cable wire.
We will be looking into it and see what responsible parties we can find to take care of that. Even if it's the city, we would try to do our best to take care of it. And we would take all your considerations on their advice.
Will Mayor, may I?
Yes.
Will we start sending out letters to
Yes, we
these
will.
people?
Mayor Bates, I agree with your concerns about the community and blight in the community. And we go to LMA conferences every year and get some information on how to deal with these sorts of issues in the community. And I think it was either 2020 or 2019 or something like that. We went to the conference in Monroe, and they had a guidebook. I think it was called "Fight the Blight" or something like that, of how to revamp or rework our ordinances to deal with these issues in a better manner. And I think it may have been Ms. Winters that mentioned something like that. We needed to go back on it. I believe I still have that booklet, but since that conference back then, it hasn't been reviewed or anything when it's been brought up, because we've dealt with this blight issue multiple times while we've been on the board, but we haven't referred back to what we really learned at the conference, which is what these taxpayers pay for. So I really think we should go back and seriously consider the stuff that we really go to learn about each year at these LMA conferences. So thank you for bringing this back up.
And one other thing, Mayor, you said don't forget to get in touch with Mr. Charles Terry. We go through that coding process, and all those abandoned properties that we see, the parish will come in and help tear them down, clean them up for us.
Thank you.
First and foremost, Mr. Rowe, I want to just thank you for being a concerned citizen. And just taking out the time to, bring some of these things to our attention. And I think, Councilman Goodman, I do agree, but as I always say, I think a lot of it goes back to our day-to-day operation, right? So even after we as council members, we discuss these things and we put these things into play, there must be specific things done during our normal hours of operation. So we need, like you said, we need people on the ground there who are going to be responsible for these things day to day. Also, on top of that, I would suggest that we find a way to put a communication out there to our citizens so that they can come in just like Ms. Harris did tonight. And we could generate some type of report on these things. So I think number one is we got to get people on board with whatever the mission is for the town, right? So if we're going to put this at the forefront, I think we need to find better ways or more means to communicate with our citizens. And I think because, hey, once again, we all work, during the day. So I'm not able to ride around 24/7, but there are people who are hired personnel, right, who are on staff that can do these things. And I think throughout the day, these things just have to be taken care of. So, and I want to thank you, Ms. Ruff, for holding us accountable. So as a result of me being on this board, we got to hold everyone else accountable. And it goes to front office staff, that goes to our maintenance team. Everybody got to be held accountable for ensuring that this is the best place for our citizens to live.
Mayor Bates, who is the personnel that we have that would be the job to go around and address litter? Because I believe we do have a constable, but who else within our administration is hired to do that sort of work
The constable
specifically?
The constable is the person, and once we hire a new maintenance director, that will be under their heading also,
Okay, so without having one, it really just sits on the constable at the moment.
at the moment. Yes.
Okay, because I think it's really our duty as council members to be proactive in that sort of thing when there are shortages like that, because technically on paper, we're really just paid to be here. So we need to make sure that outside of that we are doing above what our job description is to go out ourselves and make sure those issues are assessed or brought attention to, not levied off to someone else.
Thank you. Next item? Yep. Yes.
Excuse me, sir. I'm not the next item, but I have an idea that I brought here from Washington DC that will make everybody's life a lot easier. May I share it with 1 second?
Yes.
The town's Facebook page is a place where everybody with a cell phone, small children and everything else, will take pictures and send those pictures in. If their phone is active, it will say the address where the picture is taken. And then the council will be able to see that, put the code and regulation number, whatever you guys call it. I'm not a Louisiana resident.
Ordinance.
Yeah, right. And you'll be able to make comments there. You'll also be able to either speak among yourselves, or if you know the actual ordinance number, you put it there and state what the fines are for the ordinance. That is the strongest thing that I've seen since I've been coming back and forth to Kentwood. I'm Reginald Womack's wife. And in Washington DC, that was what the mayor used. The Facebook page for people to show the trash in the yard, to show the broken glass, to show the danger to the children, to show where the crime was. And they were able to get in front of it, and because they're part-time employees also. And that'll save everybody a lot of time, and then you'll be able to come together and make decisions and look at the Facebook page and see what you said or discuss it before you make any kind of decision about what's gonna happen. And some young person who can do Facebook, but no one can change anything until the council and the mayor decides, we don't want this here anymore, or this is what we're looking for, or kudos because it happened, or the police chief, or the engineer, or whoever.
If I may address that, I do have a website and a Facebook page that has all of the ordinances codified that you can look through, even with a Google search bar, and a public forum where people can post any of their concerns on it. It's discoverkentwood.com.
Right, sir, but if you're no longer on the city council and now you are the U.S. representative, where's that Facebook page going to be?
It's also the town website because it is discoverkentwood.com. So it's not directly tied to me
Okay.
being here.
Well, I guess we need to know.
I would
Thank
like
you.
to say too,
Go ahead, Ms. Rep.
new businesses that want to come to this town, they just don't go and look at one spot. They ride around. They ride around and they look at the area. That's just 2 blocks off the main street for it to be looking that way. And so if the letters go out, it's a warning. And not only that, that's another income for the town. I mean, the town would have money to buy signs and say, hey, no littering. If you just make an example out of somebody, I'm sorry, that's just the way it has to be. And community services. I have not seen one person here do community services for littering or their property to look, to keep their property. We're not a third world country in Kentwood. We're 35 miles, we are the first town coming in and the first town going out, and we need to do something. And I agree with Councilman Cooper. He said, look, we're not paying you just to be here. And I understand you work full-time jobs, but there's something that needs to be done because we're suffering. We're suffering because of all the trash. It's very depressing to leave out of your home, and I don't even like to go down 11th Street. I go by Martin Luther King to keep from seeing all of that trash. So there is something you can do. Get the letters out.
We've got the ordinances, we just need to start.
Simple.
Sticking to it, making people understand.
Some of them need to be retooled.
They're close enough to what we use.
Okay, I just wanted to reiterate what Councilman Diamond had said, that the main issue seems to be accountability, because we do have these things that have been addressed before, and it has gone, you know, kind of, it's been swept under the rug a little bit, and I walk these streets every day, basically every day, and what I see, we have to do better. I just say we, because I'm picking up trash or doing whatever I can do on my end, doing things that I really shouldn't have to do, shouldn't have been done. Across the street from where I live, we have people that come and park over there, no problem with that. And they have places where they have tried to put trash in receptacles. But that's just, the receptacles are running over. So again, I'll say we have to do better, and going back to reiterate accountability.
Yeah, and I agree with, you know, everything everybody is saying, but I mean, what I'm saying, if we go back and we talking about, and I'm speaking from the standpoint of policy, right? So if we go back and we amend, let's say what we have on the books, the next thing is who's gonna carry that out? And I think that's just my whole point. If I can be here every day and hand out letters and write, I would do that, but unfortunately, that's not the case. And so therefore, as an organization, as a local government municipality, we have to come into the drawing board and kind of make some of these things a priority. So when we look at budgeting and things like that, and we are allocating our funds, these are some of the objectives that need to be brought to the table. So I just think at the time, I mean, you know, at this time right now, it just have not been a priority. So I think we need to go back as far as looking at the budget, for our fiscal responsibility, we need to go back and look at those things and say, hey, let's make this a priority going forward.
Thank you. Next item.
Alan McCartney, Oceans Hospital Administrator, to give overview of facility.
I just wanted to come, I actually asked Ms. Michelle to let us come by on a light night, but I see your agenda's pretty heavy. So since I've sat on that side of the desk before, I'll keep it brief. Jonna is our nursing director and I'm the administrator. We're over the Kentwood and the Hammond campuses. We got Kentwood opened June 28th for the inpatient services for adolescent, and then opened the outpatient program July 1st, I believe.
Could you come over here so they can see you? Like, about right there. Thank you. Sorry about that.
So we got both programs going back in June, end of June, beginning of July. Both have been, you know, very well received in the area. Obviously, there was a shortage of adolescent beds, inpatient behavioral beds in the North Shore region as a whole. A ton of kids from North Shore, even New Orleans, going all the way to Brentwood and Shreveport. So, you know, we've been able to serve a lot of those and keep them a whole lot closer to home. I would say probably about 60% of what we treat are either residents of Tangipahoa or St. Tammany Parish or Washington Parish. So the bulk are right here in this region, which is what we really want to serve. Then again, the outpatient program, therapy programs there, that's serving anyone 18 and above for counseling needs. I just want to tell y'all thanks. I mean, you are generally very responsive when there's a building issue there, and I talked with Mayor Bates and Ms. Michelle, and we have some interest in possibly expanding there on site. We're just trying to determine what renovation costs would be. Obviously, that's a very old building you guys inherited from the prior owners, and go from there. But say, y'all been great to work with thus far. I just wanted to stop by and thank you for that. I've met some of you, just wanted to put a face with some of the other names.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. We appreciate you being in our community, and we appreciate the partnership. Next item.
Approved liquor license renewals for 2022. Incomplete applications or applications not received will not be approved. We have 2, the Curve Lounge and Good Times Daiquiri.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Finn, second by Councilwoman Winters to approve the license renewals for Curd Lounge and Good Times Daiquiri. Any questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Approved ordinance to sell public property being the location of Kentwood family practice clinic, building and land, see terms of lease to Dale Tate.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Callahan, second by Councilman Diamond to approve the ordinance to sell public property for Mr. Dale Tate, Kentwood Family Practice. Any question? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We're gonna move item number 6 to the end. If there's no opposition to it.
Don't we need a motion to amend the agenda to move item number
I'll
6
make the motion.
to the end?
I make a motion to amend the agenda to move item number 6 to the last item,
Reason?
because I would prefer going into executive session.
Do I have a second to that?
So,
It's been moved by Councilman Hookfin and second by Councilwoman Winters to move item number 6 to the end of the, make it number 10 on the agenda. Any questions? All in favor of that motion, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to move item number 6 to item number 10.
No, abstention. I abstain. I abstain.
Adopt resolutions approving the filling and appointing, filing and appointing of the mayor as agent of the town of Kentwood to conduct all negotiations excluded and submit all documents included but not limited to applications for the 2022 grants. LAGAP Highway Enrichment Program, Local Road Safety Program, Delta Region, Federal Appropriation, Community Water Enrichment Fund, Recreation Trail, Capital Outlay, USDA Rural Development, Land and Water Conservation Fund, and LCDBG.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Diamond, second by Councilman Hookfin to approve the adoption of the resolution for appointing the mayor as the agent for these grants. Any questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Running Hair to discuss Great American Cleanup Day schedule and events.
Good evening, and thanks for having us. The Keep Louisiana Beautiful is designated the week from April 18th through the 24th as Love the Boot. And it's about a whole week of cleanup, planting, beautification, restoration, whatever is involved with cleaning, making the place more acceptable, which ties into Antoinette's whole story here. And so we want to designate April the 23rd, which is Saturday, as the actual cleanup day. And we will be sending out flyers and we'll be using every social media platform we have to get the word out. Now we have some other news that Ginger Tuste, who is the head of Keep Kanshbaho Beautiful, has for the town of Kentwood.
The parish has been working on trying to get y'all some help, and y'all know about this, for the MLK park. Well, we were told today that we have $3,300. So with that being said, that's to plant plants and to kind of get that up going. We understand that $3,300 will not do all of it, but we have some other money that we're hoping that's going to come in. So we're wanting to tie all that in to Love the Boot. So we met today and with Mr. John Dardis, and he told us this. So I came up with the idea that we would just kind of designate that all up here to Kentwood that week, the 18th through the 23rd. And this is where we're going to need y'all to come aboard with us on the 23rd So at the end, we will have like an opening of the new park where y'all get a new sign. We're gonna have new shrubbery and all that type of stuff. Yes, we are calling someone in to come in and tell us what we can plant and how we can plant it, because I'm not a landscaper. I can just help you get litter picked up off the side of the road. So, and of course, you know, we'll have Charles Terrell with us, of course, and some of our workers to help us that day. But that's kind of our goal. But like I said, we need y'all on board, and y'all need to be okay with that. So that's why Mr. Ron asked me to come tonight out in the cold weather. That I did not realize that had changed so much. So that's kind of where we're going. We started this about a year ago, and it's taken this long to get it up going. But part of the grant comes with a sign naming y'all's park. So do y'all have any questions?
Council members, any questions?
I love the idea about the shrubbery and all that, but we do, and we're gonna, Mr. Cook probably is gonna discuss some things, because we need more help. It's no sense of having shrubbery and our tennis courts look bad and
I
all that.
understand, but that's what the grant is for. That is the only thing that we'll give the money to. If y'all decide you don't want it,
Oh, we want it.
then
Don't
we'll
get
have,
me
we can, of course, give it to someone else. But
Right.
that is what the grant is for, to for beautification. So that's why we thought we would have the big cleanup that day
Okay.
and all wind up there. Hey, I agree with you, but when you apply for these grants, as well as y'all all know,
Right.
you have to go by their guidelines.
That's correct.
So, and I understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
I completely understand, but we gotta take what they give us.
Right.
So I have a question. What about guidelines for enforcement and
Okay, that's,
other, so can the parish assist?
we cannot come into we cannot come into the town unless we're asked.
Right.
Code enforcement cannot come into your town, they said that today, unless y'all, they're asked. So, I guess from here, Ron and I will be working very close together. Y'all will be hearing from us, probably on a monthly basis till we get this, till we have that day, if that's okay with y'all.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
like I said, I need y'all to go out and get all your people so we can have a big day, so it looks real good, so maybe we can help and get some more money for other things.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
What? Yes.
I know you said that you want to plant the plants and the shrubberies and things like that. It's gonna take some upkeep with that as it grows.
And that's part of what part of what we're in the process of meeting, and we'll have to meet with the mayor and all that. Once it's all taken care of, the parish will turn it over to the town, and then they will decide who's gonna keep up with it.
Oh.
What and I'll get to you, Councilman, now. When we met with Mr. Daughters last year, part of the process was getting the Kentwood Garden Club to be a part of helping us, and once we plant that, they will help us keep it up. Okay. Councilman Cooper?
Okay, Mayor Bates, I met with Ginger, Ronnie, and Mr. Dardis this morning, and we also spoke about establishing a committee to go over some of this. So if that committee would be headed by Mr. Ron. So if we could get some more people from the town to be involved in that committee, so we can make sure that things are that we have a lot of connections within the town to make sure that there are enough volunteers and that there's enough enthusiasm on our side to push forward the project. That would be great as well.
Have you all identified any individuals?
Yeah, the two of us.
We're the beginning. We're the beginning of it. Just because we're involved with it.
And we're involved, very heavily involved with Keep Tangipahoa Parish Beautiful. And that day on the 23rd, I'm going to invite the people from Keep Louisiana Beautiful also to come to Kentwood and see everything.
Okay.
So we want that to be a big day. We want it to be a huge day. We're going to have the media out. We're going to have everybody.
And for the 23rd.
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor, I was just going to reiterate something that she said, and I think that the council, what she said when she was talking about the code enforcement, when I heard Councilman Cooper wants to go back and revamp the ordinance that's already on the books. What you must also keep in mind, and it's great she said that, you are lawmakers. They have the litter control with the parish.
That's right.
Kentwood doesn't have that. Basically, when you make the laws, it's up to our enforcement to enforce them. You can go back and forth and change the laws many times you want until you get them enforced or get in some kind of partnership with the parish. Because like you said, we have one person up here that's basically litter control, and that's the constable. So that's a good point she made about the code.
Thank you.
No, I was just, wanted to, compliment you for coming in and sharing that information with us.
Well, I'm excited that y'all got the grant, cause it
Okay.
could've went anywhere in the parish.
And then not only that, I think that once we get, some community people involved in everything, that they'll take a greater interest in trying
Correct.
to keep it up.
Correct. As long as places are clean, we find that they stay clean. If they're dirty, we find that they stay dirty. So that's kind of where we,
That's what that was
yes.
referring to.
Okay.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Mayor Bates, you have any questions for me?
I don't, Ms. Ginger, but we have Ms. Womack who,
Okay.
Hi, Ms. Ginger.
Hi, Ms.
I
Walker.
appreciate you guys coming. The shrubbery, is it going to be green?
It's gonna
4
be very
foot
low
tall,
maintenance.
Or is it going to be colorful and perennial, so it'll continue to come back
It
every
will
year?
be very low maintenance, so it will not be something that freezes, okay, like crepe myrtles and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It will be something that stays green all year long.
No color in the park, just green.
That's, yeah.
Kentwood is so green.
On that, well, we're gonna have to keep it that way. But maybe you can get some of your other groups to go out and plant some of those cute little, like my
Flower beds.
flower beds and, you know, like blue days or whatever you want around there that will help. We're gonna do the major, whatever, how far we get with our money.
Of course.
Well, we also have an issue here in the summer. It's like it's so hot that there are a lot of things that aren't blooming. We have spring and fall pretty much blooming, you know, flowers, but plus it has maintenance. And we're also talking to Grassworks
Yes,
as the landscaper for the
they
park
keep
of
up the parish, so we're hoping that maybe we can let that come on up here and maybe they can help y'all take care of it.
Thank you.
Mr. Bates, I'm gonna get a flyer made, if that's okay. I will come see you, get y'all to okay it, and then we're gonna start pushing it out.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we will have that big cleanup that day, and the parish will come with the grabbers and the garbage and all that type of stuff. Yes, Teddy, and I better see you out there picking up trash.
And if you identify any more individuals from the council or anywhere from our community, Mr. Ronnie, that needs to be a part of the,
Yes.
Yes, the
Yes.
task
please
force.
let us know. the
Task
task
force.
force.
I'll say now that I would like to be a part of that committee.
Okay.
Yes.
I know we want to have a cleanup day on April 23rd, but all of last year when we was trying to plan a
The
cleanup
weather.
day, the weather, it's no way possible we can start, because like Ms. Antoinette brought it to our attention and we see it. We can't have something leading up to that. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
We'll get the mayor, I'll just be on the mayor to help get y'all called in so we can do something
Yeah,
before
y'all
the
just kind of
23rd.
pick the date, it has to be a Saturday. If you want lots of help, you need to do it on the first or third Saturday. I cannot tell you why, but
Okay.
the first or third Saturday would be the Saturday to pick up. Yeah, of course we can, absolutely, but we would have to have y'all's help as well.
Oh, I'm
Because y'all would have to get some of the guys from the school, football team, baseball team, basketball team, to help.
won't be a problem.
So that's kind of, but yes, I agree with you. Every cleanup I had planned last year, get to the day it was canceled. Manchac was canceled twice. It's been 2 years since we've been able to get down there and clean up, which that is in March, so make sure you get with me on that date so we don't,
Right.
yes.
No, babe.
But I agree with that 100%.
Yes.
We had also spoken about getting the 4-H club involved, and also, since this will be a parish project, contacting some of Greek life at Southeastern, because some of them like to do philanthropic tasks, so we might be able to get some more volunteers in that
The more the
respect
better.
too.
And we'll have the sign-up sheet on our website, so they'll sign up and then we'll know, and so that day, y'all have to have the roads, we'll have the road and the streets picked up, because I did ride Kentwood the other day, and I thought, ooh. It's not just y'all, it's everywhere, it's everywhere. So I just thought, if we're gonna do something, you're right, we do need to have something. So y'all just need to get a date, and we'll be glad to assist y'all and work with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Council update on previous agenda item from Stanford Wells pertaining to storage shed being a residence.
Council members, any information regarding this item?
Mayor, I did some research, and my recommendation is a storage shed, we have them popping up everywhere. But if they can be rated as a mobile home and be on a 50 by 100 lot, I don't have a problem with it. Because if you just let people start getting storage sheds and all that, and a hurricane come and blow it off, the town is in some terrible trouble. But if it's, you can show us from the manufacturer, it's rated like a mobile home, I have no problem with it. That's my recommendation.
Same here, Mayor. It does definitely need to be rated to be structurally strong enough to go into storm road.
Well, in fact, I stayed here during the last storm. I ain't got no problem.
Who's gonna enforce the code on the sheds to make sure that they're tied down and don't blow away?
Say that again now.
Who's gonna enforce the code to make sure that these sheds are tied down and not blowing away and got corrupted living conditions?
Right now, there's not an ordinance where they can bring them in. The ordinance prevents them from coming in, and what they're saying is if they can prove that they are rated for that, then we would probably have to go back and revisit the ordinance and make sure that all of those things are done. But right now, those are prohibited from coming in.
I think we have the gentleman here that requested this initially. Can you tell us about the structure again?
Yeah, my name is Stanford Wells. I'm a veteran. I'm a mental patient. I got high blood pressure. I got diabetes. I got sleep apnea. I need my machine to sleep with. You know, this don't make sense. This winters, I had to go by our house to eat. I had to go by my neighbor's house to eat, get a cold glass of water, or charge my phone. This is all I can afford. It's not junky. I'm a good neighbor. So I should be able to live. Y'all say it's not a third world country. I'm living like a third world. I'm living like an animal. You know, this is not inhuman. You know, have some type of compassion, mercy. You know, hey, give me a medical hardship. You know, permit or something. You know, I understand. You know, other people might want it, but this is something different. This is my home. This is all I have. But y'all want me under the bridge? Cause see, when I leave here, I got to go home in that cold building with no air, no electricity, no water, no nothing. Y'all going on to a warm building. I don't have that luxury. So, can y'all help me, please?
At this time, the ordinance is already in place that we cannot.
Ordinances are made to be revisited, Mayor.
Well, at this time, we cannot revisit the ordinance until such time that we do, and we can invite you back. But right now, we're saying we cannot give you lights and water and all that to the building.
So when I get a generator, I will hear no noise. I got noise, because I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live.
Ms. Womack?
Okay. Like Stafford, I'm also a disabled veteran. I'm a life member of Chapter 1 DAV in Washington, D.C. I propose that the mayor and the council speak to the Department of Veterans Affairs Housing because they gave him his VA benefits to purchase this place that is illegal to the town. And I think in that conversation, either some veterans organizations will help him with a bathroom or something, because many people are living here worse than folks in the Caribbean. and I've been there 9 times studying it. I think that's the answer, so that the town can have some restitution, and the VA will either stop giving money for sheds that people are going to live in, or they will get the people who make these to make smaller housing and put at least a minimum bathroom in there of what they need.
Maybe.
Yes, sir.
I think at the last meeting I had a spiel about tiny homes and how some people are successful in making them up to code, making them structurally sound. I have 2 questions. With this being a zoning ordinance, if I'm right, it's in that chapter 4 zoning ordinance. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't we then be able to grant him a variance from that ordinance, since his structure, he says he stayed in it during a storm, seems to be sound? Wouldn't we be able to do that?
Seems to be sound. Are you willing to take the risk for the town?
How the town taking a risk?
Because if we grant you permission to live in it, then something should happen.
Y'all grant permission for people to get water and everything else.
But we're talking about a structure being raised.
I see houses, all the pieces, big houses. I stayed in the shed, that shed didn't move.
And what we're saying is if it is rated and something happens to it, then that's a different course of action. But it's not rated for you to be using as a dwelling, is what we're saying.
And if he can go to the manufacturer and show us that it's rated, we wouldn't have a problem with that. But the manufacturer got to give us a letter saying they're going to be responsible and take, well, the town would not be responsible, because we don't want to fight a lawsuit in this. I understand your pain. I do.
I don't understand the lawsuit. I really don't. I really don't.
I've seen the lot, because I believe he gave us the address last time. Has anyone been to the property to see it? I still think we'd be able to give him a variance.
The law is the law.
And if you give him a variance, will you be willing to give others the same variance when they come and want to do the same?
Variances are given on a case-by-case basis. So obviously he's been here twice. So
a zoning change.
Yeah, but zoning changes come with a process to where we send the zoning board out, they give us a recommendation, and then under certain guidelines we either approve or deny the recommendation. This is a variance. It's
but
different.
It's based upon whether that home is rated because of tornadoes and all of that stuff. We ask him to bring in a mobile home or a modular home.
I sympathize with him. He's a veteran, and I hate red tape. I really think that we should be able to give him a variance, but if I'd be sad to see the red tape win this time.
But then when you go back and we talk about the property values and all of those things, are they going to bring down the property values? Same thing that Ms. Harrell has been saying tonight. You have to take all these things into consideration.
But what about the ones that's hooked up illegal though?
Well, if you know of just as she brought in addresses, we need that same information from you.
Well, how you gonna stop it though, man? I see a lot of buildings hooked up with their families in them and stuff. And, you know, it's really crazy.
We stopped right up here on Avenue C, so. And stop that same process.
No, it's right around in these neighborhoods.
But what I'm saying is, once we know about it, we issue the same letters and they go by and it is enforced.
And my thing is, Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, sir.
With Mr. Gibson right here on 51.
That's the one I'm referring to.
If we give you, he's going to come back and attack the town or sue the town. So if you can show us that it's rated as a mobile home, we can move forward with this. Right now, we can't go on the what ifs and all that. We got to go by the law.
I would like to say, if you look at the language, it says a storage shed. And if it said a tiny house, that's different.
Yeah.
But a storage shed is a storage shed. So maybe he should consider talking with the company and see if there is any options for what they call those tiny houses. And then that would probably fit the code. But a storage shed, I can certainly understand what the council is saying about that, because if that's the case, everybody can move a storage shed in, and then with no bathrooms, you'll be dumping feces and all these things. It wouldn't be a problem.
I understand that with the framing of a storage shed, Have you made any major modifications to this building, or what's the foundation like?
I bought it just like that. I bought a shower, I got a commode, I got a zinc. I just need water and electricity to hook up. It's just like a tiny house. It's really the size of a small apartment.
What's the foundation of the building like, though?
Oh, it's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. Like I say, I spent the storm in it.
Councilman
And
Downs?
it's 12 by 35.
Mayor, so I think to conclude this discussion, we have a process in place as a board that we take when we want to amend ordinances. So I think what we should do is allow the process to be the process. So if there's a council member who would like to make that change or to recommend that, let's follow the process and let's bring it back at our next meeting. So, you know, as a council, we have to decide that. Because it makes no sense going back and forth tonight, but there's nothing that can be done tonight because we have to make the necessary changes that's law.
And that's
So,
what I iterated.
that's right. So what I'm saying is, Ms. Wood, not, you know, I'm going to vote the day that it comes, okay? What I'm saying is, if one of us choose to spearhead that, we're going to go back in and we're going to make the necessary amendments to the ordinance, and we're going to bring it forward. And then that night when it comes up, we'll take a vote, but the council member have to bring it forward. And so I think that's where we are. So we understand your viewpoint, the council members. I've heard everybody's perspective tonight. But whatever we want to do, we got to put it in writing. And then that's just what it will be.
Ms. Womack?
So let's follow the process.
The Department of Veterans Affairs used his veterans' preference to stand behind his loan. All I'm saying is to keep the town from walking out of compliance. The Department of Veterans Affairs might do this again for another veteran. To salvage that and to save grace on their part, if the town spoke to them and said, you stood behind a loan for a veteran and he moved in because that's all the money he had and he's out of compliance with the town, how can we fix this? There are many volunteers that may come and build him a bathroom, put more insulation in there than what he's put in there. I watched out the window as he sat through a Category 5 storm, worried and praying for him. I'm not advocating for him now, but I know that in other places in the United States, when the VA does something and it comes out of compliance with ordinances, when they hear from the people and they see we can't have this, we don't want the liability, sometimes they eat it up with all the millions of volunteers that they have who will come out and help one person who doesn't have a legitimate job, who can't do any better because of the service to this country, and they'll fix this, and then we'll know how to deal with other veterans at another time. That's all I'm asking. Reach out to the Department of Veterans Affairs Housing and say, this is what you guys dumped in our lap. How are you going to handle this? Because they know if he can't finish paying and getting sick in a house that doesn't meet compliance, they're going to have to eat the rest of that money, and they don't want to. And that's the answer to this. And then the board decides how they want to handle it on a case-by-case basis and all of that.
Thank you.
Mayor, quick, just something real quick. So, Mayor, if the time permits in your schedule, at some point, can you get with them closely on that so that we can, since he is a veteran, can you get with them and meet with them, you know, just to hear more about it? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of how this turns out, you know, on the policy side, I still think that we should do our part to help him as a citizen of this town the best possible way that we can. So
I bleed orange and blue just like everybody in here.
I will begin with Ms. Womack to try to take care of that.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Next item.
Alvin Cook to discuss recreation parks.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
I was wanting to hear what the board would have to say about the budget for the recreation of all the parks that we have in the city, and see then too if they would accept recommendations from the public about some things to do or not do. But actually I want to hear from this is the last probably, well, then not the last, but this is the budget. This is after the budget, you understand? You done did the budget already?
Yes.
For this year?
Mhm.
So in the budget, what have you said that you're gonna do for the parks? I know what I see, but what are you gonna do with the budget? Cause you're not gonna make another budget, right, for this year?
No,
Okay, so what have you included in the budget for the parks? That's what I'm trying to find out.
currently at MLK Park, there is a gentleman who has looked at the courts to refurbish the tennis courts, and he says it has to be optimal weather before he could paint those tennis courts. And we are looking at getting the netting for the tennis courts. The benches, we're looking at refurbishing the benches to get them up to where people can have a place to sit. And got a price on redoing the fencing for all of the spots that are broken there. Yes, sir, Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, on the tennis court, when he go, before he paints it, is he gonna repair the courts?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor, I want to make a recommendation. You know, the pavilion we have there at MLK,
Mhm.
can we take half of that and make some public restrooms there? Because that little shed we have there, that needs to be torn down so it can be accessible for wheelchairs and all of that. And they can roll up to the bathrooms under the, if we can, and have running water and a water fountain right there. We can take half of that shit, because the structure is already there, so we can build bathrooms, because we don't have much going on under that pavilion, no way. That's just a thought.
Okay, we will look at that and see if we can get it up to ADA accessibility.
And I know you said about, one last thing, you said something about the tennis courts, that's great. Can we get them also a pricing to strike the basketball courts also?
We'll work on it.
Mayor Bates.
Yes, sir.
We also need to make sure that the lights are always operational at the park, not just from an appearance view, also from a security view, because I do agree that we need to take care of that park more. But we also need to make sure that it looks like a safe place and that it is relatively secure, because I was there years ago when we worked on the current bathrooms that were there, and it seemed like someone had taken a sledgehammer to them. So we need to make sure that they are not a place where our community can be hurt and disadvantaged.
Yes, sir.
One last thing, man. I know you're tired of it. Can we identify a veteran or somebody that's retired to monitor our parks? Because if you don't have nobody monitoring them, they're going to be trashy and everything else. And I say you're not going to pay them a big salary, or just something as set their hours from 2 to 8 or 3 to 8 or something like that, and give them $25 or $30 a day. And you need to identify 2 people to do that, because when one weekend one will work, and vice versa, like that. We need somebody to monitor, not just MLK, but all the parks, because we even need a public restroom here, over here, by the community center also.
We also eventually would need something like that for the North Tangi Park whenever it gets completed. One question I do have about that hypothetical position: what sort of permissions would that person be granted? Are we looking for someone just to monitor the parks and watch it, or are we looking for a park security guard that has legal authority to deal with any, I guess, vandalism or threats? Like what would that position entail?
Well, security guard, you're talking about a different, but somebody to make sure things are ran where people are not trashing the park. And if you see somebody that's doing something, he can make a call into the police and have them to come over and remove them from the park. You see what I'm saying? Because he's not going to be on site because he's got to monitor, ride, and he might spend an hour here and go back over there and spend an hour, just making sure things are in place.
That might be something we'd want to arrange through law enforcement, because all it takes is for one significant problem to happen, and we have a cow.
And I totally agree there, but shoot, nobody's beating the door down. We short of officers right now.
Unfortunately.
We have a Parks and Recreation Committee. These are things that you can get together and bring those suggestions back.
Yes, sir.
Who's on the Parks and Recreation Committee?
I don't know the names off the top of my head, but I think there's one or two of the council members that are on it with some community people, but we will remind you of who's on it, and we'll move on from there. Okay.
Have they met recently, or do they meet?
I don't think any of you have met. We had several committees.
I'm not on it.
We haven't had any meetings yet. Yes, Ms. Womack?
Cameras are now empowered by solar. I'm wondering, we found in the District of Columbia that the ring goes right into the police department. It is also empowered by solar on the poles, and I think that would be extremely helpful with the monitoring person potentially being the person to save money, who might receive a stipend at the end of the year for monitoring the park because they utilize it instead of looking at a salary. And number two, I'm just wondering if the town has a fundraiser for what we used to call in the Army non-sufficient funds to help with things that we really need to make the town beautiful, to bring retirees like me into the town who want to relocate, but they keep looking at all these issues. So those are like three things. TheRing.com has that. It shoots straight to the police station. When anything moves, it takes a good picture in the dark, it takes a good picture in the light, and the police have that. Most of the police seem to know everybody's face. So that's a really good thing for the parks and many other places.
I think that's an excellent idea. Things we should definitely be eagle-eyed about at our next LMA conference.
Thank you.
After hearing all what you said, and everything is real good, even the planting of the scrubbers and everything, there's one thing I would like you to consider is putting some lights that would light up when dark comes and go off at a certain time, or cause lighting helps to deter crime. People don't do as much wrong in light as they would do in dark. So I talked to the entity one time, and all they have to do is sit somebody down there to talk to them and ask them, let them come up here and assess how many lights it would take to do what I'm seeing. Or along with that, to put the solar energy the way it wouldn't be a big bill with solar energy.
Mayor Bates.
Yes, sir.
I had a PSA about it, and Councilman Hookfin and I think the police chief, along with Chief Rhymes, went around town and taped some of the lights up that needed to be worked on by Energy, because they will come and fix the lights if we report them. Who is in charge of contacting Energy once we all go out and wrap up the lights that need to be fixed?
City Hall.
Okay. Because even with the parade, there were some still out.
I've seen them working on some. They were at the back gate of the school trying to fix that one, and it's still not working. So they have come out for those that have been taped.
Okay.
So.
Can I bring something real quick? To be brief, Brother Cook, I always, appreciate you for being consistent. And I think it just goes back to the very first question that he asked that we really avoided, but it needs to be answered. One of my professors said this. He said, you can look at an organization's budget and it will tell you what their focus is. It will tell you where they're headed. It will tell you what their main priorities are. So I think just as a whole, when we begin to plan, and let's not forget, and the reason I'm just kind of a little silent tonight, because I know I done came here for the past 3 years, just heated, and I put heat up on the mayor even about our parks and recreation. I mean, it's something that we need. I've been preaching it since day one. It's something that we prioritize. So the same way we prioritize all these other things that we got, they can be optional. Because there's a ton of things in the budget that I can point out tonight that is optional, but we still choose to fund it. So I think every governmental municipality, they fund what they would like to fund. So I think at the end of the day, we need to make some of these things a priority, just as well as the community cleanup, what Miss Harrell is saying. So all of these things goes back to accountability from the front. And one other thing I want to add too, and all the decisions that we make before we make them Triton Park, let's be inclusive about it. So I think that before we go doing anything to our tennis courts and things like that, once again, even if it's just a special meeting that we call together, it's okay. Tonight we just talking about the plans for our recreational park and allow people to come in and have a say so on those things, so that we can develop some sort of plan. And I'm a firm believer that if you can sit down at the table to do one grand plan, let's do that, and let's not patch, because we'll patch it. Because right now we got a walking trail, but the bathrooms are tore up, right? So I think there's just so much, and I think that we can do better. We can do better.
Maybe it's last thing, ma'am.
No, sir. We're going to move on, and I'll make this comment. That's why the committees were formed, because I, as mayor, cannot do 40 to 50 things by myself. The walking trail came about because I had to get out there and make something happen. He asked about it, so we tried to make something happen. So when committees are formed and you all don't meet, then I'm left to do and assume all these responsibilities. So if we're going to be about it and in front of the people, let's get behind the scenes and do the work that we're called to do. Next item.
Mayor recommendation of Russ Porter as Public Works Director.
Russ, will you, Mayor, now first, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'll be recognized. Do you want open forum or do you want to go into executive session? Because I have a lot of questions I'd like to ask.
First thing first, I mean, there's a recommendation that's said from the mayor. So first thing we need to hear from the mayor, if it's his recommendation. So that's step one.
Who says it?
My recommendation is to hire Mr. Russ Carter as the maintenance supervisor of the Department of Public Works for the town of Kentwood. Now, if there's a motion now to move into executive session to discuss it, we'll receive that motion now.
Well, Mr. Russ said
It doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, well, we're here. Can I get a motion to, or is there any questions?
Question.
Get the motion. Let's get the motion, then we'll get the question.
What's the need for the executive session?
That was
What's the
Mr.
need?
Hoopin.
That was me.
What's the need, Councilman?
Because there was some things I didn't know if he wanted to, that's going to be said from me, that he wanted to be open with.
Gotcha. Okay.
So can I, yes, sir.
As he is he would be the Public Works Director. I just think the public should be involved. I think a executive session isn't necessary.
Okay.
Okay, here's mine, and I agree. I don't think that before the discussion has even started, we should talk about going into executive session. You go into executive session when maybe there's something that possibly comes up in a discussion where I think that we need to, discuss in private among ourselves with Mr. Russ. But I think right now, I think we're good to go ahead and discuss what's at hand.
First of all, I have a recommendation. Do I get a motion? Then we'll come back with your questions or observations.
I have to make a motion to hire Russ for, but I think they have some questions, you might ought to go through that before.
Okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Wells.
Seems like the town should have a say-so or something, huh? We don't know nothing about Mr. Russ. He won't even stand up and tell.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, question. So since I'm just sensing there's a little bit of a weight here, or maybe we just don't want to talk. But I think I can go ahead and get mine out the way. My opinion. This search, will play a integral part in the success of the maintenance department. What I'm saying is the goal, when you talk about appointing a department head, and this is not personal anything, but when you're talking about appointing someone to a position, and then you're talking about a position that has been vacant for quite some time, I think that there ought to be a process in place for selecting those persons or the proper personnel. I have been a part and have had the opportunity, and I'm so grateful. I've been a part of several search committees that has involved high-ranking personnel and officials, a chancellor as well as a university president. And I've had the opportunity to serve on those committees. And I think where I'm going is, I think what we need to do is to form a search committee so that we can ensure that, number one, it's inclusive, because we always had two goals in mind, and that's why I was jotting my notes here to share with the council. Our first goal was to one, be fair and be open. That was number one. And the second thing was, what you need to do first before you even thinking about appointing somebody to a position is to identify the needs of the organization to ensure that the candidates line up with the mission and the core values. So I think the first thing that we need to do because it's the first time this has came up, we need to all sit down and ask ourselves the question, what are the needs of our town? He will lead the maintenance department. What are the needs of the maintenance department? And I think from there, we need to formulate some type of criteria, right? Because right now, we haven't got anything to say, okay, what are the qualifications to be the town maintenance director? And I promise you, it's not anything against this, but it's ensuring that we have a clear, fair process in place. And also, y'all know, I'm very big on transparency. So I think that what we need to do is, let's put together a committee, because the reason I have not stepped in, which I'm very familiar with how to form a search committee, because of course we wanted to allow the mayor, because they're hands-on, right? They're here day to day. And so I wanted to give him the opportunity to do that, but we just came forward with the recommendation saying, okay, I recommend this person. Who else have we interviewed for the job? Have we looked at anybody else who was current on the team? What are the qualifications? What do we need to serve in this role? A second question is, where's the resume? So at some point in time, we have to really sit down and say, look, we have to put this in place. Let's develop a search committee, right? The number of days, hey, I'm open to hearing the council member on that. If we need to install him interim, we can do that for the time being, because the needs of the citizens and of the community, that has to be met. So I'm not putting it on the back burner. But before we do that, I want to ensure that we know the needs of our town, the needs of our people, and that's what it's about. And I'm a firm believer of a great author who said this: if you do it right the first time, then that will prevent error and problems later on down the line. So I think if we just do this right, be fair about it, let's come up with a search committee, all right, and also that, hey, let's put it out there, and let's see what's out there. And I think sometimes we can be inside the box. Right? So let's just see what's out there. Let's get a pool of people. Let's bring them in. Let's hear from them. And let's put our criteria out there and let's see who would like the job. And hey, it's all about competition. And I think at the end of the day, if we can get the right people in here who are willing to compete, let's look at their resumes and let's hear from all of them. I think we can make a decision from that, man.
Mr. Wells?
I agree with Mr. Diamond too. You should, I'm talking like y'all just rushing to jump to hire a buddy or something, Who else asked for this job besides him? Did y'all put it out that the job was open for anybody? Be transparent about everything. Don't hide nothing.
Ms. Womack?
Mr. Mayor, the young man who's here for the job, youth is what this town needs. This is an old town with a lot of problems. His interim appointment would at least let him see whether or not he wants to be bothered with all the problems that are here. We've got infrastructure problems with the water. We've got all kinds of situations, I think the interim would work, but I think that he needs to know this is a challenge where he's gonna grow, and if he is gonna grow and get training, how much time is he going to give the town with them paying for him to get more training to help us? How long will he stay with us with a contract rather than go to another company and make another $25,000 a year?
Mr. Rose, would you mind speaking, please?
No, I don't have a problem. I've been with the town, like I say, for 2 years I've been back, but I worked there a few years previous. But there's a lot of stuff that we do daily to daily, or I should say I do. I've been kind of filling Mr. David's shoes since he's been gone since, I think, August. But anyways, I'm not no type of one to brag on myself or nothing, but the proven fact, last week I was off, and we just don't have nobody here to do a lot. We don't have nobody to fix water leaks. We don't have nobody jumping, knocking on City Hall doors to get jobs. I mean, yes, I have a few co-workers and all, but like I say, as far as gas certifications, if I leave this town today, they have nobody to work on gas. They will have to hire somebody.
If you take over the supervisor job, who's gonna do it then?
I'll still be, I've been
You're
doing
still gonna be getting dirty in the ditch.
Yes, sir, that's a
Okay,
part of
Mr.
my,
Supervisor. I
Yeah.
like to see
Let him
it.
speak. Thank you, sir.
yes, sir, I do it as it
You
is
do it
now.
now, though, but I'm saying when you get another
He's
position.
speaking. If you have questions for him, once he's done, then we'll let you ask questions.
I'm sorry.
But I have no problem with getting dirty, no, so that's no problem. I do it I was in a hole today about 12 foot deep, putting a sewer line in. But I mean, I grew up here. I've been in Kentwood my whole life. My father worked here. I know where a lot of the lines are. We had locate last week that couldn't get done. The contractor was told that he'd have to wait till I returned. So I went Monday when we were actually off, went and did the locate for the company. And but I mean, as far as equipment operating, as far as keeping up with paperwork for our gas, you know, we do have a company that's in here now doing the stuff for the water and the sewer, helping us with the paperwork. But as far as all the gas stuff, I keep up with that, and I guess just whatever anybody has, if you have any questions or whatever.
Question, Mr. Wells?
I don't have no problem with you. He good. I know he good, but I'm just saying, do anybody else try to get the job too? You know, pretty much drunk and hire somebody else.
Sir, I'd like to know,
Yes, ma'am.
are the people that can support you, because you're gonna become exhausted?
Yes,
Are the
ma'am.
people that are gonna support you, are they already here, or do you have an idea of what staff you need to grow into? And if that is the case, are you frightened because you were here before and you came back? I mean, are you ready for this task?
Yes, I mean, I'm ready for it. I mean, I know it's gonna be it's gonna have its headache days and all that, like any job. But we're a good group of guys. We're small. There's 6 of us at the moment. I mean, like I say, we're small, and there's guys that know how to do stuff and all. You know, we just have to have potential to do it. But in the same sentence, we need an everyday supervisor to make sure stuff gets done like that. Right now, stuff's not getting done.
One last question, sir.
Yes.
Are you seeking hiring and firing authority so you can have the team that you need to help the city, or is the committee gonna have to decide who the team is to be out there with you?
That I would be fine with doing that, but I believe as of now, you know, the mayor, they come through the mayor to get hired and all that. If I have a problem, I'm sure with an employee, I go to him and he would assist or, you know, take care of the problem.
All right. Russ,
Yes.
you are one of the hardest workers I know.
Thank you.
But I want a maintenance director. The previous director we had, he had all the certification, but the talk, he was lazy. Now we getting a hard worker, but do you have all the certification?
I have my class 1 in water and I have all my gas. I don't have all the sewer.
Okay. So when you step into the supervisor role, who would take the operator's role?
Curtis Environmental.
See, we got to think this out, because Russ can't be supervisor and be in a hole at the same time. Because Russ may have to be pulled here. Who's gonna operate? You see where I'm going with this?
But that wouldn't be right, like to hold me at a spot because you don't have nobody to operate.
I know that it's not right, but the thing of it is, if I don't want you to be, and like Ms. Womack said, so exhausted that okay, man, I'm trying to do all this double duty. I got a lot of double duty going on. So I think what we need to do is, yes, we do need a day-to-day operation supervisor. We may need to go interim for a minute, 60 days or what have you, and advertise, because we did not advertise at all.
Here's another question I got. If you hire somebody, and that's fine from the outside, and they come in here, they don't know nothing about this system, who's gonna show them?
That's true too.
Are you gonna show them?
No, I'm not, because I don't know the system.
That's right.
The thing of it is that we need to make sure the citizens have a fair shake on all of this.
I understand.
That's the only, because I know what you can do.
Councilman Cooper?
Okay, I would like to say first, we have all been part of organizations that have been for search committees, etc. But I'm not here to give my resume. If I'm not wrong, this being the mayor's recommendation to hire for this position, this is something that is usually done at the beginning of a term. There isn't an interim for this position. The mayor recommends someone, and then that is effective until either the mayor then fires that person or the next term comes along. This isn't a regular employment thing where there's a job list somewhere. The mayor himself seeks out someone who he believes is fit for the position, and then we as the council vote on it. It's not the same as hiring a basic employee for the town. Also, with that being said, as for the desire for an interim, this is essentially what we're unofficially doing. I'm just going to be frank about it. We have the town clerk and Mr. Russ filling in unofficially for the maintenance director that quit on us, that didn't manage our system effectively. I'll say that frankly as well. So it isn't a decision between an interim in Russ and then hiring a new person. It's the decision between asking this man to do the job that he is not hired for, or to officially give him the job that he has been doing continuously, because the person we had before was not good at their job. So that is all I'm going to say, and I support the mayor's recommendation because he's been asking this man to do the job already.
Let's get Mr.
The
Hamilton.
only thing I wanted to say was the town does have a job description. We've had it for years. His position is described, what his qualifications
In detail.
be, what the demands of the job is, and I'm sure probably the mayor's probably looked at that and decided that, but I mean, it's there. For whoever you get, that's what you should be following, is what is the qualifications and the duties of this position. I didn't want any people to think we don't have that.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. I know.
And that was just my only comment.
And as Councilman Cooper has iterated, this term is over at the end of the year. Whether there's a new mayor sitting here or what, they still have to come back in January and make the recommendation for the town clerk and also the maintenance supervisor. And if they don't want Mr. Russ after that point, after giving him 6 months or this year to work in this position, so be it. The board will have the opportunity to vote that recommendation for a maintenance supervisor at that time. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, man. Right on what you were saying there. Basically, what you're doing is giving a young man, or asking to give a young man a job for 10 months. You can form search committees and do all your homework. You're not gonna get a line from that door to that 4-lane advertising a 10-month job for what it costs for a director. I mean, I would, basically, you can call 15 miles down the road, see the way me, ask them what they pay their director. Yeah. It just, I mean, you ask them to get a young man a job for 10 months. obviously, Councilman Cooper says he's been doing the job, and I'm aware of it. He's been doing the job since August, I believe. It's not like you're gonna hand a man $1 million. You asking to get a man the official ability to be the supervisor of your department. By the time you do a thorough search and find somebody with the qualification that everybody wants, it'll be time to be sworn into the next administration.
Yep.
That's basically what I was saying.
Mayor, I also,
So, yes.
he's by far the most, let's say, the most knowledgeable. If we were to hire somebody just out of the blue, it'd take them no telling how long to come up with about half the knowledge that he already has about the town, the works, and how everything starts. And, thank Mr. Hall for his comments over there, because it's so true. It's gonna be a hard search to find somebody else to come in to do the job that we're doing.
Yes, Ms. Womack.
Sir, I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
I can see in your eyes that you want the job.
Yeah.
I know that we need you to be here. You're young, you can grow into this job. Are you willing to notify the council and the mayor of what certifications you need to take you to the next level to help us and study and get those done, so you don't get handed a job for 10 months and you're the only one who knows where everything is?
I mean, they know what I have and what I need.
Okay, but I'm just saying, for all the other certifications of whatever they
That's
are.
no problem, but they know.
Are you
But
willing to ask them to pay for this, for you to go, and give them a contract for 5 years to stay here with the town?
Well, they have a policy that we already have to go through as far as getting our stuff paid and for it.
So you're comfortable with that?
Yes, ma'am, I don't have no problem with it. Like I say, go on to get classes and letting them know. I mean, they know, but I mean, I can let them know. I mean, what they already know.
Yeah, I'd like to see you win, but I don't want you to work 10 months and then you run around looking for a job and everybody else is getting hired, you know the knowledge, and they have the credentials.
So I just have to say one thing. The job that we ask these people to do, they'd be making 2 to 3 times the amount, maybe, some other place. So we also have to look and see, what are we paying? What's the salary?
Yeah, that is why I kind of answered my question and made a statement. When you look at, back to Kentwood again, how much are you gonna pay someone to live here? I mean, because if somebody has a family and have the qualifications that he have, what make you think they wanna live here if the town is suffering? I mean, look at it, you know? And how much are you going to pay? Like Ronnie said, to get somebody in here with those certifications, you may be looking at $100,000 a year. I mean, basically, you know, with the increase of everything and where you have those kind of homes, you know. So what is 10 months? Then to come back, but if he can identify all the pipes and all these things, you're still gonna have to have somebody to walk under him. And why would he want to give them all his information and he's about to get the boot? It doesn't make sense. You know?
Right.
10 months, what is 10 months? Ride it out.
Right, and also we sat here a couple of months ago, and as a board, I think it was Mr. Hayes sitting back there, we said we wanted to hire from in-house.
In-house.
Yep.
That's what we said, we mentioned that, and just to say that, over the past few months, what we've tried to institute was work orders to make sure we knew what was being done, so we don't go back and backtrack. And Mr. Russ and the guys have been doing this, and these are just from the last 4 or 5 months of them keeping track of what we've been doing. And this has helped us a lot, and it will help us when we are applying for this grant to get our sewer and our water, because we have documentation of the problems that we have. And I commend him on doing that, and that was part of the recommendation, but he only lives 1 block. And if you call him, he's coming.
Oh, I totally agree. And Russ, trust me, do not take this. I just want to make sure that you're not going to be wore down, because I know it can be a burden. I got 5, 6 jobs and I get worn thin, because being at the top and then you got to go dig a hole and put up with employees that's not doing what you're supposed wanting them to do and move at your pace. You know what I'm saying? So, I know what you can do.
First thing first, I think, and then once again, Mr. Russ, you know, I work with you. I've been out there. I've seen you work, you know, hands on. But any job, and it's just not for this job. My job is at will. That means I can go to work tomorrow, and they can say, if we get a new principal at our school, they can say, hey, Mr. Diamond, thank you for your time. We no longer need your services. This can happen to anybody at any time. There's no guarantee. I mean, you don't know. There's no guarantee that if it's Mayor Bracy, if it's someone else, who's to say? They may go with Mr. Russ or they may not. You know, they have the option to do that. I just want us to make the best decision for this time. Now, mind you, that one thing that Councilman Hookman, I remember you asking Mr. Russ some questions, and I think this why it's so imperative to be able to have some type of committee, not even necessarily a committee, but a time where we can have the time to ask him these questions. I mean, it's kind of like, hey, going to an interview. Hey, what is your vision, right? These are the problems that we have. How can we fix that going forward? And I think because this position the council, right, has the power and authority to appoint, right, the maintenance director. So that's at the discretion of the board, not the mayor. And so I think where we are is that at this time, I know I am, we're in this to assist the mayor to make the best decisions possible. But I think that for one, we need to sit down and just see, hey, what are the needs, right? And let's talk about the department. Not only that, let's hear from the department. Not just Mr. Russ. He should just be here tonight by himself, because guess what? When we all go home tonight and we go to our jobs tomorrow, guess what? Those guys have to work with Mr. Russ. How many council members have done that? Right? Mayor, have you had a meeting with the town? When the last time we had a whole group meeting with our town workers to hear their concerns? To see, I don't know if you have, I'm just asking. So I think that's important too, because you're saying, hey, I'm about to put this guy in charge of these fellas. How do they feel about it? So I'm just saying just a number of factors that you should just take away. And I'm not saying that he's not the one for the job, but I'm saying that these things need to be on the table. So my recommendation, and Councilman Hall, thank you for that, because we just got this on yesterday. And I think today, all day, I'm in between meetings, so I'm trying to read this back and forth and trying to understand it. But what you said was a very valid point, and I didn't even get a chance to think about that. That, you know, this is our last term, and you know, someone could come in and appoint, you know, but that's just a part of it. And I think it's still worth us putting it out there. It's still worth us trying to just get candidates and hear from them, hear their vision, you know. So that's just my stand. And Mayor, say this. My recommendation, Mayor, you know what? I'm gonna use wisdom on this. Here's my recommendation to the council. I'm gonna recommend that we go ahead and install Mr. Rush, appoint him to the position. Being so that if you go with an interim role, I mean, we will be back at the same process at the beginning of the next of the next administration. And I mean, it's at that time, once again, whether it's Mayor Bates or somebody else, they'll come again with whether they want to recommend Mr. Russ or you know, someone else. So it makes a lot of sense, and I thank you for that point, because I promise you all day I didn't really think about that, Mayor. So Mayor, I make the motion that we approve Mr.
One
Russ.
second, we had Mr. Carson, who works for us.
Go ahead, yes, sir.
I worked at the cemetery, and through his guidance and helping me keep the cemetery up like that, he's 100 for talking to, getting stuff together, tools I need with the workers. I mean, he's hands on hand with us. and I love working with him. And he makes me, well, I know he will work, because I will work.
I know both of you.
And the fact that he has, I mean, I was here with the previous administration and everything was in his head. When you asked for something in writing, it was like you was asking a foreign question. The fact that the mayor has a stack of documentation to back up, that is in itself important, because Mr. Sellers didn't do that. And so, one, we should be happy that there's some type of paper trail. I'm grateful for that.
Last question. That, with that stuff, the problem we got going on, is that gonna fall in Mr. Rush's lap, or it's already cleaned up with the dump and all that?
It'll be falling in his lap.
Okay. So you already know about that. Okay.
We also have the paperwork, if y'all wanna view it, it's here. We have all the flow meter sheets that he does. It's open for the public to see, if you wanna see his stuff that he has done.
Okay. You had something?
Yes. Okay. So someone asked a question. What is the salary? It's about $4,500 per month, which rounds out to anywhere to like $54,000 a year, I believe. So that's the salary. But as for this again, I'm going to say, this is something that is usually brought up at the very beginning of an administration. So at the January meeting, the mayor comes out with a list. So I just want to, did we have to stop and get a committee to look when we chose the housing authority administrator or any of the, or the clerk or any of the other ones that we appoint regularly at the beginning of the year? I don't know why we had such a commotion with this. Is there any, and as for hiring people inside of our department already, is there anyone else that has been sent to do those tests? What has been the success rate to do those tests to get those certifications? Do you have any information on that?
Everybody who is employed with the maintenance department has the ability to go and take all of the exams and the classes. The town pays for the expenses of them taking the exams and for their stay, whether they pass them or not. We made that across the board for all of our employees to be able to go and do that.
Now, remember, we also initiated a pay incentive if they do get those certifications as well.
25 cents per certificate. Each certificate that they get a 25-cent increase.
Mr. Russ, last question. Do you see anybody in our department that we can send pretty soon to, take a load off you?
I mean, even if they get the paperwork, it's still, I mean, you got, as far as doing the work, I mean, like Keith, he's very knowledgeable, but, he can operate. I mean, he's knowledgeable fixing water leaks, gas. I mean, he knows.
To get certified, we need some more people in our department certified, get their certification. Can you help ensure that we can start getting that done?
I mean, I can help them do, we got books and all that study. I mean, I can't make a grown man.
Right.
It's been offered to them to come in during the day here, during the course of the day while they're on their work hours. They don't have to go home and do it. And we'll have computers set up to where they can do the portion of the test and whatever education portion that they need while they're on town time, and they don't have to worry about it happens.
Yeah, I did all my gas time on my personal time at home.
I know that.
I
was working.
The last week of January, Tibbetts and Preston will be going to class. They would test on February the 4th, I think it is, in Hammond. I submitted the paperwork last week. So Tibbetts has to take his 1s, I think, and 1-2. I think he only passed 1-2.
He has 1-1 now.
1-1.
So he'll take 1-2 and then he'll take 2 1s.
Yeah.
And then Preston has to take his 3rd 1.
And when they're sent to the test, they're free of any duties that they need to do until they come back. Okay, good.
It's a week long.
Okay.
At the beginning of this discussion, I made the recommendation that we take your recommendation to hire Russ as director.
Can I get a second?
Second.
I have one thing, just one, and my hand was up for it. So I want to just, clarify that the reason we've never, I've never even mentioned a search committee or anything like that is because we've never had a vacancy for a department head. So I think that's why it's just so intense, right? Because this is someone who is going to lead one of one of our main departments. So it's not anything that I want to take lightly, right? Clean water, all these things are a part. Make sure the sewer, all these things. So there are a number of things. So the intent, all intensity is not bad, right? It just shows tonight, Mr. Russ, that and along with the mayor. So it's our job to assist him and help him make decisions as well. And so to you, Mr. Russ, like I say, work with our mayor, and we gonna be passing, because I know sometimes, hey, I pass messages by him, hey, this is what needs to be done, can we look at that? And so let's work closely with these guys who have an interest in getting these certifications and things like that. So that's just my biggest concern in growing our department. So, and as a leader of that, and in everything that we do, it doesn't have to be mayor. It can be me just as a school teacher. Everybody in a role has to set their vision for the things that they're in charge of, and that's what I ask of you. So you know the needs, you know where the town is trying to go, and you know how we need this department to operate. So take the time out and reflect and set your vision for what we need.
We have it moved by Councilman Callahan. Can I get a second?
Second, I seconded it.
Second by Councilman Cooper to approve the recommendation of Mr. Russ Carter as our Public Works Director. Any questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? City Hall will be closed January 17th, 2022 for Martin Luther King. Mr. Hoopin has a flyer to read for the event, and then we'll dismiss.
Martin Luther King Jr. join us in commemorating the life and vision of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. January the 17th, 2022. Meet time is 9:45. Walk starts at 10 a.m. Starting location will be at the Greater Temple Chapel Baptist Church, 912 Avenue G. Ending location will be Kentwood Community Center Park, 302 Avenue F, Kentwood, Louisiana. Our chairperson this year for this event is Ms. Kimberly Chapman. If you want to participate or have any ideas, you can give her a call at 985-514-3151. It's Kimberly Chapman.
Thank you. Meet adjourned.
Leave my pencil.